we are, yes, countering the spread of narcotics into our borders, but we're also trying to reduce the narcotics trade, because the narcotics trade has secondary and tertiary benefits to Islamic extremism, dictatorships, autocracies, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all sorts of bad things that come from drug cartels. But at the same time, one of the best weapons that we use to fight cartels is cartels, because they're very easy to turn against each other. It's very easy to spread misinformation among an ignorant group of people who are basically all just guns for hire, trying to either make a dollar or start their own drug trade by waiting out their boss until their boss gets killed so they move up the ladder. So counter influence and influence campaigns to counter the counter narcotics world is a very ripe business. It's a very enjoyable, very rewarding, very creative space for intelligence work.
Interesting. Now, I haven't looked at this super closely, but I've heard sort of headliney stuff that as a red-blooded American, I get a little excited about. I want you to temper my enthusiasm here, where the thought of cartels setting up base like in California with the weed trade, SEAL Team 6, baby, send them in, smash some skulls, fuck shit up. Like, that's one where I want to send a message. Now, again, I know when I'm on an emotional thing and when I definitely should not be listened to, I should not be listened to here. But why isn't that the right response?
If you tactically take down a cartel inside American borders using American resources, you're first of all, you're demonstrating what your capability is. And you're also demonstrating to the American people that you weren't able to prevent it from happening in the first place.
Well,
so it's a double-edged sword.
Right now, Trump has an open check to say, Biden let him in, and we're going to take him out.
Right now, for sure. Strategically, so tactically, I would say if they're already here and we need them out, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't use U.S. resources to get them out. That said, there are there's government policy and government regulations that dictate the authorities to different groups to take action on American soil. For example, the Coast Guard is one of the only American military elements that has the policy to discharge a weapon on American soil. So you can't really send in SEAL Team 6 or 10 or 5 to kill a bunch of California-based drug traffickers unless you carve out a space in their authorities to send them in, which may already exist. Navy SEALs will know better than I do, right? But it's one of those complications. Whereas you could send in DEA, you could send in FBI, you could send in local SWAT, you could send in Coast Guard, theoretically, depending on the zones, right? To take care of that threat. Is that the right capability for the right situation? I don't know, but that's part of what we deal with and the inefficiency of government that maybe DOJ will be able to fix. So root them out. I mean, I lived in Montana when I was with the Air Force. It was like meth central.
Oh, fun.
In 2009, 2010. It was a terrible place. I mean, billboards on highways. Anybody from Montana knows what I'm talking about. Billboards on highways trying to get people not to smoke meth, trying to get people not to buy meth.
Like DARE kind of thing? Or just
kind of like DARE, but only
hey,
darker.
Sally.
I mean, I remember some just disgusting things up on billboards, people's faces rotted out and like children and women having these sad images where they talk about how sex trade is tied to the meth trade.
On billboards.
On billboards. Wow. All across Montana through the Great Falls area. If you guys know what I'm talking about, drop it in the comments so Tom knows that I'm not lying to him. Incredible trade through the Montana area for the meth world. So, I mean, I am all for get that shit out. I don't want my kids doing it. I don't want my future daughter doing it. I don't want my future son participating in it. I don't want my wife having to see that shit when she drives to and from her favorite sushi joint, whatever. Like, get it out. Once it's out, the strategy has to change. You have to keep it out. How do you keep it out becomes a long-term question, because you're not going to keep drugs out. People forget that the rest of the world doesn't operate like the United States. The rest of the world, drugs are a real trade. Sex trafficking is a real trade. Human slavery is a real trade. Legal in many, many countries.
What?
Ignored. Oh, yeah.
Legal.
Legal meaning it isn't prosecuted.
Whoa.
Whether it's corrupt or whether it's outright legal. Just look at the UAE, man. Look at Saudi Arabia. Look at the UAE. Look at Oman. Look at Bahrain. All four of these are rich Khaliji countries that are all allies with the United States, that all claim to support human rights, and they all four openly engage in human slavery. They not African slavery like we had back in the Civil War days, but very similar to the Reconstruction days, where people are indentured, where their passports are held, where they're given a not fair day's wage and they have to work themselves. They have to work off their freedom to get their passport back so they can go back home. That shit happens to Filipinos, Indians, Pakistanis. It happens to Syrians, all throughout the Middle East. Is it graced by legal code where it says we allow slavery? No, but graced by legal code is it is legal to hold somebody's passport until they pay off their fees for the career that they're in.
Wow.
Not legal in the United States, right? But what I'm saying is this is how the world works. It's just not how the United States works. One of the big reasons why we have to maintain our hegemony, because if we don't change the world is damn sure gonna change us.
What do you think about this video? Leave your comment, like the video, share it with your friends, and don't forget to follow me on X for more exclusive content.